Good. So, Grandpa, any vacations
Okay.
you used to take back with the children?
All right. Well, we started our first vacation with the children was we took Jim and Sally to our to a I guess you would call it a picnic place in the state of Minnesota. Friends had apprised me of where they had a nice one that they had been going to, and we went up there, made a trip to Pine River, Minnesota, and enjoyed cabin life and fishing and swimming in the big lakes. And at this stage of the game, Jim was 7 years old, and they had a boat attached to this resort, and a man, for safety, he would take all the young kids on a boarding exercise out into this huge lake behind the motorboat that he would pull them with. And Jim was a star performer. He enjoyed doing it and did it very well. And they really thought that was wonderful. Sally was too young. She couldn't do it at that time. But yes, that was the first exhibit we had of Jim's ability to do some good. And we had an enjoyable time, and the kids, it was primarily designed for kids, but the men and the women would play a bridge. We all were bridge players, and we would do that on the screen porches until maybe 10 o'clock, and then they had a nice lights out situation, and we'd retire to our individual bedrooms and enjoy it. You know, we each had a cabin to ourselves. By that time, the kids were so tired they'd be sound asleep. It was a very nice vacation. We did a little fishing in some of the smaller areas that they had, and they befriended a nice fisherman and took Jim and Sally out in their boat and saw them drawing some big fish from the lake, and it was a good vacation. So we thought we'd do it again. So in 1961, our family had always been partial to Denver vacations because we had an uncle and aunt that lived there and some of their kids. So we'd go up and stay with them for a night, and then we'd take a cabin up in the mountains. And we started that in 1961, and we did that in 2 other years, 1964 and 1966. And by that time we had really surveyed the Rocky Mountains. We had gone to see the Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs. We also went down to see the Royal Gorge, which is down in southern Colorado, but right near Utah, and saw them, give them some taste of what mountain living was like. And we stayed in a resort area where we had our own cabin and could fish off the bridges and so on, in some of these mountain streams, and thoroughly enjoyed Colorado vacations. In between, we sometimes, business requirements for my part, where I couldn't get a summer vacation. We'd have to do something in the winter, and so we'd miss a year here and there. But overall, we even went beyond that. We went to had a camp trailer one year, and had bought that for Herman, our place up in Herman, and we took it to the Smoky Mountains, the Great Smoky Mountains. And besides all the rain, we still enjoyed, despite all the rain, we still enjoyed the vacation.
Any funny stories from those first vacations?
Well, yeah, there were a lot of things. Country music was a big thing, and when you went to the Smoky Mountains, it's primarily what you heard driving down there and driving back. And I really became myself familiar, and I think Jim knew most of the songs anyway, but I know we enjoyed listening to the radio on our drive down there because it was several hours long.
Who was your favorite artist back then?
There was a singer, a very popular singer. His first name was Ken, but by golly, I don't remember the last name. But he made a song called Lucille, and they were all bar tunes and things like that. And they were just enjoyable listening and really enjoyable. He was a big hit. He had many hit songs. I want to say Kenny Davis, but I don't think it was that simple. But fact is, I don't remember. But he was a very popular entertainer.
Okay. Well, we can look it up after this. And
Yeah, sure.
Maybe play Lucille for
And
you.
it included trips to Silver Dollar City in the state of Missouri, which was the west end of the state. And where else did we go with the kids? I guess that about wraps up the in-between years. It covered pretty heavily the years from 19... well, we did go make a trip to, in 1962, we went to Michigan and saw the Great Bridge over the Mackinac Bridge, which was a new engineering feat at the time, because they had covered the straits of Magellan Straits with this bridge, and it was a huge bridge. So we went over that about a year or two after it was built. And we also got to not stay at the Grand Hotel, but we went to Mackinac Island. And we went there by boat and spent the day and the afternoon. There were no automobiles on Mackinac Island, so we had to drive by carriage, a horse-drawn carriage. And wouldn't you know it, David and Sally fell asleep. But I think Jim sat up with the driver, and we enjoyed the trip very much. It was like a 2-hour ride. We went around the island with them. So those were the gist of what we did. And they were very enjoyable.
What kind of car did you take?
I had new cars
those
every
trips?
year,
Yeah.
mostly Buicks.
What were some of the cars you had?
Well, I had a 1959 Dodge with the big tail wings on them, or whatever you call them. And then I started buying Buicks in 1963, and we proceeded with a 67 and a 69, and then after that I bought a new one every year, and for about the next 15 or 20 years.
A new one every year, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
But it kept us in nice cars, and we made use of them. And then, of course, you know, from 1969 on, we had to travel to Herman about 50 times a year, and they served us well.